Today, we're diving into a part of English grammar that sounds easy but can be a little tricky, the present simple tense. Mastering this is what really separates the good English speakers from the great ones.
So let's jump right in with a question I hear all the time. What's the real difference between I work and I am working? In a lot of other languages, they're basically the same thing, right? But in English, that distinction is absolutely crucial. And by the end of this, I promise you, you'll know exactly when to use I work with total confidence.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, we're going to figure out when to actually use this tense. I call it the always true tense. Then we'll get into the fun of building sentences, and yes, we'll tackle that tricky third-person S rule. From there, we'll jump into negatives and questions, and by the end, you'll have everything you need to really master the simple present. Let's get into it.
Okay, before we even touch the grammar rules, the how, let's start with the when. Because honestly, if you understand the situations where you're supposed to use the present simple, everything else becomes so much easier. Just think of it as the tense you use for things that are consistent, stable, and, well, generally true.
And this is the key idea right here. The present simple isn't really about what's happening this exact second. It's much bigger than that. It's for things that are always true, or happen over and over again. We're talking facts, we're talking habits, and the routines that make up your life.
This slide breaks it down perfectly. There are really 4 key situations. You've got permanent situations, like where you live. You've got your daily routines and habits, like what time you wake up. Then there are the universal facts and general truths, things that are just always true. And finally, you use it for fixed schedules and timetables, like for a bus or a train. See the pattern? It's all about regularity and permanence.
All right, now that we know when to use it, let's get to the fun part. Actually building sentences. And I've got great news for you. The basic formula is incredibly simple.
This is it. This is the foundation. It's a simple 2-part recipe. All you need is your subject, the who or what, and the base form of the verb. That's the verb in its simplest, most basic form, like eat, sleep, or drink. No extra endings, no frills.
And for these subjects here, I, you, we, and they, it is an absolute breeze. You just put that base verb right after the subject. I work. You eat. They sleep. Simple, right? But don't get too comfortable, because things are about to get just a little more interesting.
Okay, now for the part that trips up so many learners. It's such a tiny detail, but it makes a massive difference in how natural you sound. It all comes down to one little letter, the letter S.
This chart lays it out perfectly. When your subject is he, she, or it, what we call the third-person singular, you have to add an S to the end of your verb, but only in positive sentences. So it's I work, but he works. We like, but she likes. This is the big one.
Of course, because it's English, the spelling likes to keep us on our toes. It's not always as simple as just adding an S. If a verb ends in a hissing sound, like S or sha, we add es to make it easier to pronounce, like washes. If it ends in a consonant plus y, like study, we change that y to ies. And then you have the total rule breakers, the irregular verbs. Go becomes goes, do becomes does, and have becomes has.
So we've nailed positive statements. Now let's flip the script. How do we say no or ask a question? Well, to do that, we need to call in some backup. And our backup comes in the form of 2 powerful little words, do and does.
Making a negative sentence is a really simple 3-step process. You start with your subject, then you add the right helper verb, that's don't or doesn't. And here's the most important part. You always use the base form of the main verb. No S's at the end.
Check this out. In the positive sentence, we say, he works. See that S? To make it negative, that S basically jumps off of the verb work and attaches to do, creating does. So we end up with he doesn't work. And notice, the main verb work goes right back to its original simple form.
So, you ready to ask some questions? Well, the structure is really similar to what we just learned. We just have to switch up the word order a bit. We're going to start the question with do or does. Then comes the subject. And finally, you guessed it, the simple base form of the main verb.
Look how easy this is. The statement is, you work here. To change that into a question, all you have to do is pop do at the very beginning. Do you work here? And just like that, the rest of the sentence stays exactly the same. It's that simple.
But what if you need more than just a yes or no answer? Even easier. You just add a question word, like what, where, or when, right at the front of the sentence, before do or does. So do you work here can become where do you work? The main structure doesn't change at all.
Okay, we've gone over the rules, and now it's time to really lock it all in. I find the final step to really mastering this is to look at the common mistakes that people often make, so you can spot them and fix them. Let's do a quick lightning round of error correction. First one, we likes to travel. Nope, we doesn't take an S. It should be we like. Next up, they doesn't eat vegetables. Wrong again. They needs do, so it's they don't eat. And finally, what time you finish work. This one is missing a key ingredient, right? It has to be what time do you finish. Seeing these common errors makes the correct rules really stick in your mind. And this, right here, is the golden rule of the present simple. Honestly, if you only take one thing away from all this, let it be this. The only time you add an S to the main verb is in a positive sentence with he, she, or it. For everything else, negatives, questions, the main verb always stays in its simple original form. And hey, you want to sound more like a native speaker? Here's a pro tip. Use short answers. If someone asks, "Does he speak French?" you don't need to repeat the whole sentence back. You just use the helper verb. Yes, he does, or no, he doesn't. It's quick, it's efficient, and it's how real conversations actually flow.
So here it is. This is the ultimate goal. You'll know you've truly mastered the present simple when you can switch between these three forms without even thinking about it. You can just say, they live here, they don't live here, do they live here? When you can do that effortlessly, you've totally nailed it.
So to finish up, let's bring it back to you. Using the present simple, what is one routine you always do, or one simple fact that's always true for you? Answering that question is your very first step to making the present simple a natural part of your English. Now go on, get out there and practice.